Hi there, it's Irene again, and we're back once more for another in our series of beginner guitar lessons. This is the fourth lesson, and how are you doing out there? I hope you're doing okay. If you're anything like me, you've got your up days and your down days, and good thing we can sit here and play some music together and kind of take our mind off of things out there. Today we're going to make sure, first of all, that our guitars are in tune. I don't necessarily remind you each time, but if you need to, pause the video now and tune your guitars. And we are going to start today with practicing again the G chord. We have D and G and A now, so we're going to work with practicing between D and G and D and A. Just in our regular down-up strum. I know I taught you another strum on the last lesson, but this one, we'll just keep it simple, and we'll do that for a while, just because you don't have to think as much when you're just strumming down and up. So let's take D, find your D here, and we're going to strum just as we have before. We're going to strum 8 times D, and then we're going to switch to G. But before we do that, just make your fingers go back and forth a few times. Just practice that move. Okay? Do that a few times. I know you're not as fast as I am going here, but I've been playing longer. Just a little. So, let's find our way back to D now. And I'm going to count us in, and we'll do 8 strums of D, 8 strums of G. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then switch to G, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Okay, now this time we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go from D to G and back to D again. Okay? So same thing. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See if you can get back to D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. We're going to do the same thing with A and G. So we'll start with A. So find your way to A, and then see if you can find G from there. So there's A, there's G, back and forth a few times. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing. Just A to G first. Okay, I'll count us in. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then G. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now do that a couple of times just on your own if you need to, but this time we're going to go from A to G and then back to A again. Okay, here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then to G. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then back to A. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Now, if you do that a few times on your own, that'll help a little bit. But now we're going to look at the song Saw Her Standing There, which I mentioned in the last lesson. So if you'll notice in Saw Her Standing There, on the top line, we've got 2 Ds. So that means we strum D 8 times before we go to the next line where we strum G, but only 4 times. So it's a quick change before we go back to D again. The one thing you'll notice is that these words here, these lyrics here, don't have any chords on top of them. That's because if you remember the song, it starts, well, she was just 17. So those are sort of lead-in notes before the actual song starts or the music starts. So that's what we're going to work on. We're going to work on those first 2 lines. And whenever you're learning to play something, the idea is to break it down into little bits like this. Instead of trying to play through the whole thing, which can just discourage you, just take little parts and work on them until you get better at it. And then you add another part. So it's always the way I recommend you practice a song. Any song, and no matter what the difficulty. I have to do that too when I'm learning something. So we're going to start with the D. So remember, we're strumming D 8 times, but then we're going to G for just 4 strums and back to D again. So I'm not going to sing it, we're just going to play the chords. I'm going to count us in. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, and then we go to G, and 1, 2, 3, and then back to D. Ooh. 2, 3, 4. Now you might not have got it the first time back and forth that quickly, but let's try it again and see how you do this time. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, then G, 1, 2, 3, and then back to D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, maybe you got it a little faster this time. Remember to always keep your arms strumming, moving, right? I mention that all the time because sometimes it's the last thing you'll do is you'll just kind of stop and pause and you won't even realize you're doing it. So that's the one thing to focus on, because eventually, like I said, these fingers will catch up and they'll get there a little faster, and a little faster. So if you'll notice now on the next 2 lines, the 3rd line, we're still on D. So that means we stay on D for another measure. And then the next line, we're still on D for another measure before we go to A. And that's 8 strums or 2 bars of A. So what we're going to do is we're going to just play those 2 lines. So 2 Ds and 2 As. We can do that. We're a little bit better with those 2 chords. So let's do that together. And then we'll put it all together. Okay. So here we go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And then to A. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now we're going to go back to the beginning. And we're going to try to do the first 4 lines. So we've got 2 bars of D, or 8 strums of D, 1 bar of G, then we're back to D, and we actually play D for 3 bars. So we'll count to 4 3 times before we go to the 2 bars of A. All right, so follow along as best you can. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and then to G, and 1, 2, 3, and back to D, 1, 2, 3. Now we stay on D, 1, 2, 3, and another D, 1, 2, 3, and then we go to A, 1, 2, 3, 4, another one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the first 4 lines of the verse. Then we go back to D again. We're going to do the last 2 lines in the verse now. So we've got 2 bars of D again. This time we have 2 bars of G. And then the last line, we'll have one more bar of A or D, one bar of A, and 2 bars of D. So again, we're just going to do those 2 lines by themselves, and then we'll put the whole verse together. Okay, so we're on D, and the line is now I'll never dance. Okay, so follow along as best you can. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another D. 1, 2, 3. And then we go to G. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Another G. 1, 2, 3. Then the last line is D. 1, 2. And a quick change to A. 1, 2, 3. And then back to D. 1, 2, 3, 4, and another D. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so you can again stop this and just work on those parts. But now what I'm going to do is the whole verse. So the whole first verse, again, still not singing it, just playing the chords, so it gets all put together. So let's start with our D. If you're ready, here we go. 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, and then to G, and 1, 2, and a quick change back to D, 2, 3, and then we stay on D, 1, 2, 3, 4, one more D, 2, 3, and then we go to A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now we're back to D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Then we go to G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Last line, we're back to D. 2, then A. 1, 2, and back to D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. There you go. That's a whole verse. If you can do that, you're ready to move on. I just wanted to point out that there's another part of the song called the bridge, which is right down here. And in the bridge, you'll notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 measures of G before we go to A and then to G again. So sometimes the hardest part about that isn't just playing the chord, it's keeping track of how many measures. So I'm going to count them out for us. We're going to play the bridge first before we do the whole song. So 6 bars of G, and I'll keep track for you. 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4. This is 2, 2, 3. This is 3, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 2. And then we go to A. 4 to A, 2, 3, 4. One more A. 2. And then to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. So now we've done the bridge. Again, go back and do it a couple times if you need to. But we're going to go right back to the beginning. And this time I'm going to sing it. We're going to sing all the way through. I do want to point out at the end here, it says to repeat the bridge. That means to go back up here and then all the way through again. What we're going to skip that part. So that little repeat the bridge, we're just going to skip for now. So when we come down to here, we're just going to hop that line and do the very last line, just to keep it simple for today. So find your D again. Now I'm going to half count, half sing us into it because there's those lyrics that happen just before we start playing. So I got 1, well, she was, and then we go into the D, okay? All right, here we go. All ready with your D. 1, well, she was just 17. You know, there's the G, what I D mean. Good. And the way she looked was way beyond a compare. 4, 1, 2, 3, back to D. Now I'll never dance with G another. Ooh, since I D saw her A standing there. All right, we're at the end of the first verse. 2, 3, stay on D. Well, she looked at me. Here comes G, and I could see. We're back to D. That before too long I'd fall in love to A with her. 1, 2, 3, then we're back to D. Now I'll never dance with G another. Ooh, since I D saw her to A standing there. All right, now we're coming to the bridge. 1, 2, switch to G. Well, my heart went boom when I crossed that room, and I held her hand. And we're going to go to A. In my and we do another A, and then we're back to G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 to the next verse. Oh, we dance through the night, then G again, and we held each other D tight. And before too long I fell in love with her. 1, 2, 3, now I'll never dance with G another. Ooh, since I D saw her to A standing there. 2, 3, 4. Now we're down to the very bottom, still on D. Since I saw her standing G there. And then that D, we just do one strum like that. That's what those little dots are at the end, just one strum of the D. Now, one thing you might be noticing is that it's really hard to keep track of watching the page or me and your hands. You want to watch your hands a lot. So this is where we start encouraging you to getting used to not watching your hands. I know that sounds like totally impossible, but your fingers, as I've been saying, start to develop muscle memory. So they're actually going to find their way to the next chord, especially D and A at first, because they will find their way back and forth on their own without you watching them. In fact, sometimes you'll even notice that you watching them gets them a little bit muddled up, because they do actually know what they're doing after a while. So one of the things you can work on is to not watch your hands. See if you can go to D and then find A from D and then check. Do it that way. It's just something to start working towards. I know you're not going to be looking away from your hands all the time, but something to be conscious of, because that will help you. Often when we're watching, especially when things start to get a little bit complicated, start moving a little faster, we need to be watching the page. And so that's what we're working towards. The other thing to keep working on is that strum pattern. 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3. And now I'm doing a little quicker now. But that's something that you should also be working on, because the next time we're going to strum this song using that strum pattern. So now's the time to work on it. Hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.